Do you ever have that feeling that you're just not doing enough, or that you're behind, that perhaps other people at work are overtaking you, or perhaps you worry that other people are looking at you and thinking, oh, she's not doing a very good job of that? If that's you, this video is for you. I'm Dr. Sarah, I'm a medical doctor and a life coach, and I run a membership called the Thriving Medics Club, which is a place for healthcare professionals to get out of burnout and stay out of it. And recently, one of our members put something on the group chat about feeling this overwhelmed feeling of like, I'm not doing enough, even though objectively she is. I decided to make a video response to her message, and I put that in our membership, and it had a really good response from the people inside the Thriving Medics Club. So I decided, why not share it on here and let you guys in on it as well. It's so common for us to feel this way, for us to doubt ourselves, question ourselves, and I want to share some of the things that can help you with your mindset around this. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. One of our lovely members sent a message on the group chat about that feeling of overworking and yet still feeling guilty, still feeling like you're not doing enough, and that feeling of guilt and shame that comes up when you set boundaries and you actually switch off from work. So I started recording an audio voice note back to this, a little pep talk, but I realised I have so much to say about it. I thought, why don't I make this into a full training for you all? Because I think this is something that probably all of us inside of TTMC can relate to. And so I hope this is helpful for you. You might want to take some notes through this session, because I'm going to be giving you a few journal prompts. I've written myself some notes. I'm going to be looking down at my own screen as we move through this. So the first thing I wanted to say is, well, first of all, thank you for sending that message in and normalizing that feeling. And the first thing I really wanted to draw attention to is that it is so common to feel this way, and it's really valid. You know, we're all caring people. We're healthcare professionals. We care about our jobs. We care about our reputation at work. We care about our patients. We care about our teammates, and we don't want to be the person who is seen to be slacking or not pulling their weight. And so, you know, if you feel like you're not giving enough, or you feel like it's uncomfortable to start setting boundaries and start doing things differently, it's really normal to have those uncomfortable feelings. And that's like one of the biggest things that we have to work through when we're learning to do things in a different way. Because, you know, overworking, overgiving is one of the big things that gets us into a state of burnout and into that state of feeling like everything's too much. I've got too much on my plate. So, Alison, you mentioned in your message that your appraiser had even mentioned in your appraisal that maybe the workload is actually just too high, and that it would never be possible to actually do it all, even if doing it all is ever a thing. You know, do we ever really get to the end of our to-do list? Do we ever really have a feeling of complete satisfaction that we've done everything we possibly can? I would argue probably not. So what if your appraiser was right? What if the workload really is too much? And what if your response to that, your feeling of wanting to set boundaries, wanting to protect your energy, what if that isn't a sign of failure and a sign that you aren't good enough and you aren't working hard enough? What if it's actually a sign that you're starting to listen to yourself? I really want you to soak that message in, because what we do when we give too much and we overwork is something called self-abandonment. You've heard me talk a lot about putting our own needs aside and the importance of tuning back into your mind and your body and listening to what those needs are. When we push beyond our own limits and we give too much, we are self-abandoning. So maybe this uncomfortable feeling that you have is a sign that you're actually listening to yourself and things are moving in the right direction, even though it feels really uncomfortable. Be interested to hear any comments from any of you watching this training, to hear if you can resonate with that at all. It was something I found very, very difficult, and still sometimes do find very difficult to work my head around. Because one of the things I know about all of us high achievers who burn out is that we view burnout as a personal weakness. We view the fact that we can't get it all done as a personal weakness. We're highly responsible individuals, we're highly trained, we work hard, and we're the kind of people who take things on ourselves. We have them on our own shoulders. And I want to remind you that the situation you're in is where things are too hard, there's too much work. It's actually a system issue. It's not a you issue. And you mentioned about your colleagues, you know, that feeling of like, oh, my colleagues can cope, my colleagues can manage. I can definitely relate to that feeling. But what if they actually aren't managing? What if they are struggling? What if you could be the person who shows a different way of doing things, who shows that you don't have to burn the candle at both ends, you don't have to take your work home to be able to cope? What if you could be the person who shows that you can do things differently? What if your colleagues actually don't really have much of a life outside of work and they're compensating by taking their work home? We never know what's going on inside of somebody else's life, and so I really want you to focus on yourself and how you're doing, and having a feeling, rather than looking outwards and comparing yourself, checking in with yourself and your needs and saying, do I have a clear conscience knowing that I'm doing my best for my patients? And can I be happy that I am doing what I can and putting my health first, serving my patients as best as I can, while still looking after myself and not self-abandoning? Rather than looking to other people for our benchmarks, we want to be able to look into ourselves. The next thing I wanted to talk about was this feeling of guilt. So, what is guilt? When does guilt show up? Guilt shows up when we act against a value that we think we should hold. So, for example, maybe you've felt before like, I have to always be available. Maybe you've always prided yourself on going the extra mile, or being the last person to leave, being the hardest worker, doing the most. But where did that come from? This could be a really valuable journaling exercise, asking yourself, like, why did I adopt these feelings and these beliefs that I have to overwork? Where did that come from? And are those feelings and thoughts still serving you? Because if you've given yourself the message, or if you've taken on the identity of the good doctor, and in your previous mind, the good doctor identity is somebody who gives, overworks, maybe it's time to shift that identity. Maybe it's time to take on the identity of the efficient doctor or the healthy doctor. And that probably means leaving work on time. That probably means continuing to switch off in your free time. That probably means focusing on hobbies, travel, quality time with your partner. The guilt might still signal, but the guilt will slowly dissipate with time as you learn a new way of doing things. Guilt is actually your mind trying to distract you and trying to pull you back to your old identity and trying to pull you back to your old way of being, because that feels safer. Even though it's uncomfortable, that feels safer than trying to do something new. So, the next thing I want to ask you is about your values. I think you've done the core values exercise. In fact, I think we did it together on a one-to-one call. I want to ask you about your own compass and how you feel that you are aligning your life with your values. Rather than thinking about what you don't want, which is what we do when we're in survival mode. When we're in survival mode and we're sort of really burnt out, we're thinking, I don't want to be tired all the time. I don't want to spend all my life at work. I don't want to, work until retirement and then drop dead from exhaustion. I don't want to miss out on all my friends and family's birthdays and events. So when we're burnt out in survival mode, we're thinking about all the things we don't want. As you start to recover and things start to get better, the most important thing is to start thinking about what we do want. Rather than being pushed by this negative energy and pushed over here, we want to actually find the things we really do want and be pulled towards them like a magnet. And these will start to fade away into the background as we get drawn to the things we actually do want and we start building these positive things into our lives. So I want you to start thinking about what you do want. What's going to draw you away from the guilt of overworking? If you've got really amazing things going on outside of work, you're not going to be feeling too guilty because you're going to be too busy having a good time. This is the essence of what we want to get to in TTMC. You know, obviously do a good job, do the best for your patients while you're at work. And then when you're off, properly switching off, resting, recharging, having the time of your life, doing fun things. You don't want to just wait until retirement to get to the point where you can travel, where you can spend quality time with people. What kind of life do you want to have outside of work? And who are you becoming? What values do you have and how is your life aligning with that at the moment? The next point that I wrote down is about opportunity cost. You've probably heard opportunity cost before. This is where we think about what we're giving up in order to do one option rather than another. When you narrow down your options, you are always sacrificing other options. So if you are choosing to give extra hours to work, if you are choosing to think about work and talk about work in your free time, you are giving extra hours of your freedom to work. What is the opportunity cost of that? Every time you spend an hour worrying about work when you're at home, or replying to emails when you're at home, or writing notes when you're at home, I'll just quickly log in, and then your brain's whirring for the next few hours, you're in a bad mood. Every time you do that, you are choosing not to invest in your health, your relationships, your dreams, your home, your own life. There is a cost associated with this. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. Think about how many weekends you've wasted because you've been worrying about work or thinking about work or doing work. So what do you want to be doing instead? You need to have some things that are so magnetic, that light you up so much that you're drawn to do, that it feels too exciting and too thrilling to even think about work. So I'm going to encourage you, anybody who's watching this training, I'm going to encourage you to get some things booked in. You know, I talk about that monthly date day. Get that booked in. Think about some travels you might want to plan. Get them booked in, or start researching at least. Some fun plans with friends, some fun plans with family, some things around your home, some projects and things you want to do. Think about the garden. Think about these fun things that really light you up, that make you feel excited inside and energized. You might have a default setting of overworking and feeling guilty about it and worrying you're not matching up to your colleagues. But you can change that, and it does feel uncomfortable to start to change that mindset and change your beliefs around it and change your view of yourself. But it is so worth pushing through to that point, because you get to enjoy life so much more. I've seen it in so many of my clients, and it's so worth doing, and I've done it myself. It's so worth doing. So I want to remind you that you don't need to earn your rest, you don't need to earn your enjoyment, you don't need to earn your downtime. Sometimes we get into this headspace where we feel like guilt is the price we have to pay to earn our rest and our enjoyment. And we feel somehow like, if I feel guilty about resting and relaxing while my colleagues are working, then perhaps that makes me feel a bit better about myself. Don't allow yourself to stew on that guilt. Remember that setting firm boundaries with work isn't just about, leaving work on time. It's about having boundaries with yourself. I will not check my work emails. If I'm not on call, I won't check my work emails. I won't check that work WhatsApp. I won't log in to the portal and see what's going on. Setting those boundaries with yourself, it's a sign of growth. So the bravest thing you can do is not to squeeze more in, more work, more productivity. The bravest thing you can do is do your best. Oh, you've heard me say this before. Do your best and forget the rest. Think about that analogy I've told you about before. I didn't come up with this, but remembering about juggling the balls, when you've got loads of things on, sometimes you are just going to have to drop some balls. And you have to ask yourself, is that ball a rubber ball or is it a glass ball? The glass balls you can't afford to drop. The most important things for your patients. The rubber balls, some of them are going to have to get dropped. See what your colleagues are doing. Are there any balls that they're dropping that they're just saying no to? Are they saying no to that extra clinic? Are they saying no to that extra other bit of workload? Ask them how they're managing. So tune into yourself, listen to yourself, ask yourself what you want from life, what makes a good doctor in your eyes, what identities you're holding on to, anything you can perhaps start to let go of. And allow yourself to be drawn to the things that light you up, make time for them, prioritize them. And I hope this training has been helpful for you. The question I wanted to ask you is, what kind of doctor and what kind of person do I want to be in 5 years' time? And then I want you to ask yourself, are my current actions getting me closer or further away from that identity? So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope this has been helpful, and I will leave some other journaling prompts in the description below this. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Thank you for watching. So what do you think? Did you find that advice helpful? I would love to hear what you thought about it. And also, if you've got any advice for anybody else who's feeling like this, please feel free to leave it in the comments below, because it's so helpful to have other people's perspectives and ideas around topics like this. From coaching hundreds of healthcare professionals, I know that pretty much everyone feels like this at some point. So if you're feeling like this at the moment, you are not alone. And if you enjoyed this video, you're going to enjoy this video right here, where I share tips to help you stop having the Sunday scaries. You know, that nagging feeling on a Sunday where you're feeling anxious about the week ahead. This video is for you. Hope you enjoy it. I'm Dr. Sarah. Subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.